Hello everyone, welcome to Toon Runes, and happy Halloween! Today I thought we'd celebrate by doing something a little different. Instead of doing an obligatory top 10 scariest episodes list, I thought it'd be a neat idea if we talked about the top 10 scariest concepts in Steven Universe. Believe it or not, there's actually a lot of horror elements in the series. Some of them are even pretty subtle, to the point that you wouldn't even feel the full extent or potential of them. So today, in honor of Halloween, we're touching upon each of these subjects and elaborating on what exactly makes them so horrifying. Feel free to leave your list in the comments below. Number 1. The absence of Russia from Earth. The first one, admittedly, would only be scary to us, the viewer. But if you're an observant watcher or big on the theory scene, you would know that Russia is missing from Earth in Steven Universe. At face value, you could see this as something that's just an abnormality between our two universes, but given the context of the show, I feel there's a pretty deep lore explanation for this. That said, I don't think we're ever going to get an explanation for it, especially since it's a pretty minute background detail that the average watcher won't catch. So all that we have left to do is theorize, and theorize we will. The main theory out there right now is that Russia was completely used up and disappeared because it was used for resources. And if we were to parallel that to real life, Russia is actually one of the richest countries in terms of their natural resources. They have some of the largest abundance in the world, so it would make sense if that block of land was primed the most for colonization. One of their highest profitable industries is actually mining. That's not the scary part about this though. Imagine what would have needed to take place there for the entire landmass to just disappear off the face of the earth. My guess is there was either a massive kindergarten or some other sort of gigantic exploitation that led to the entire portion of solid ground to disappear there. Just imagine what ground zero looks like and what happened to the life that was living there. Number 2. Gem harvesting. Admittedly, we can only guess what gem harvesting means through context as well as other gem terminology. Back in the episode Catch and Release, after Peridot wakes up in the bubble room, she reforms and then panics while she mentions something about being harvested. We also get more context to this, as in the episode Change Your Mind, it's shown that Yellow has her own bubble room filled with forced fusion experiments and miscellaneous poofed gems. It's not a secret that Homeworld is low on resources. Therefore, a logical decision would be to recycle things that are of no longer use to you. However, the connotation of that is pretty messed up when you consider that they're recycling a sentient being. And what does harvesting even imply in the first place? It would seem to me that they mean shattering and using gem parts for a variety of things, from Yellow's fusion experiments to possibly melting down the gemstone itself and using it for the creation of new gems via injection. Either or, that's the human equivalent of you being killed so some rich guy could try to use your organs to live forever. Number 3. White Diamond mind control and bleaching. The next one I don't think needs a lot of explanation as to why it's creepy. At least to me, this entire scene was enough to put me on edge. But if it doesn't creep you out, think of it this way. This giant alien from space is basically taking control of the minds of your 3 adopted moms and the 2 interstellar dictators whom you thought were the biggest threat not even a week ago. They lose all their color and there's no way of getting through to them. They all just have these huge grins on their faces and are all doing the exact same thing as each other. If mind control isn't a scary enough topic for you, I think the fact that they're all basically the same person in multiple bodies should, especially since you don't know what exactly is happening in the mind of the hijack. Do they just not exist? Are they unaware, or are they stuck in their mind to watch what they're being forced to do? Number 4. Plant sentience via spit or tears. Continuing on the notion of hijacking bodies, we're talking about forced plant sentience next. Yeah, the watermelon Stevens and pumpkin sure are cute, but did we ever really think about what mutations on that level entail? This is similar to the whole White Diamond and mind control thing, because this power is essentially hijacking the plant and using it as its host. It's not as bad given that plants aren't sentient beings, so there is no mind control going on here, but it's still something that freaks me out a bit. If you guys are familiar, there's actually a fungus that can hijack the minds of insects and basically force them to do things they wouldn't normally do, like trying to drown themselves, etc. I kinda see this being similar. Whatever is in Rose's tears or Steven's spit is kinda like a parasite in a way. It's basically hijacking a plant's body and forcing it to grow limbs, become mobile, and do its bidding. Number 5. Gem reproduction. Gem reproduction is one of those things that's scary just by impact alone. The kindergartens themselves are giant husks of uninhabitable and unfertile land that's basically been stripped of any life-giving qualities that it once had. It's scary to think that eventually, gem reproduction alone could bring the planet to its knees and kill everyone on it. Plus, it just looks scary as a concept. Just giant exit holes that line the mountainous walls of what are basically mining sites. Imagine walking by an empty stretch of land and boom, a quartz soldier soldier pops out from nowhere. Number 6. The creation of dimensions out of nowhere. Okay, so this is a concept that's been fleshed out in passing, but it's still one that has a lot of unknowns. It's been seen with the temple and within the temple that magical rooms can be created from nothing as long as a gem exists to essentially direct it. However, these rooms do have their limits. What's scary to me is how they can basically make their own reality. In the episode Rose's Room, we arguably had what was one of the scariest episodes of the show, where Steven basically gets stuck inside of a fake beach city that the room had made for him. And in the episode Know Your Fusion, it's revealed that fusions can also have their own rooms, but they only exist when that fusion does. So that begs the question, what happens if you get stuck in a room if that gem or fusion no longer exists? We kinda saw what happens to a room once Sardonic falls apart and unfuses suddenly, but it isn't clear what would have happened had they not managed to escape. Would you just cease to exist once that room completely collapsed in on itself? It's all pretty fascinating to think about, as well as creepy. Number 7. The living walls and objects of Homeworld. Okay, so this one is disturbing in every sense of the word. I'm sure that these wall gems and items probably exist mainly to have eyes on everyone at all times, but they're essentially like a security system. I get that that's what they're supposed to be, but imagine needing to go to the bathroom at night and you just see a pair of eyes following you down the hallway. I'd imagine with these gems just existing, you would feel like you were being watched constantly, and that's because you are. Number 8. Corruption. Now we're getting to the good stuff. Corruption is one of those things that we're pretty aware of in terms of general information, but not the grueling details, like about what goes on in the mind of the corrupting or corrupted gem, or if they completely lose their minds in the process. We've already seen that the inside of a gem is kind of like the gem's own unique world, where their lives and memories play on repeat. So imagine if the inside of that gem just starts crumbling into disrepair, and the gem who's being corrupted can feel themselves slowly losing grip on reality. They're essentially being turned into a monster against their own will, as well as being reprogrammed while they're still very much aware and sentient. Having your body and mind betray you is a scary thing to go through, and I wouldn't think that corruption is an exception. Number 9. Forced fusion and the cluster. Forced fusion and the creation of the cluster is by far the most egregious act committed by the Diamonds. Not only were they violating what is essentially the bodies of fallen soldiers, but a shattered gem isn't truly dead. As we can see in episodes like Secret Team, Keeping It Together, and Gem Drill, shattered gems do maintain a certain level of sentience. Granted, it's a small portion of their sentience, but it's still there. Think of it like a broken CD-ROM. The data is still burned on that disk even if it's broken, but it isn't readable. In the gem's case, the data that is on the shard is readable, but only the data on that shard. So let's say that that portion of the gem contained instructions on how to form an arm. You'll get an arm to form from the shard, but it won't be talking or fully aware of its surroundings. Or if it is, it's only aware of what's stored in that portion of the shard. This is what makes the forced fusion aspect terrifying, because you have a bunch of mind fragments basically forced together into a monstrous amalgam that is at war with itself. You basically have thousands of lost gem shards who are looking for the other parts of themselves while also trying their best to communicate with the other shards well enough to control the body that they've all been forced into. Number 10. The gems being AI. And the spookiest concept we have today, I marked as the scariest for one reason and one reason only: the fear of the unknown. The gems being AI, or an artificial being in general, is just a super unsettling thought because it means that they need to have been made by somebody, likely somebody organic. There's a real-life theory out there called the technological singularity theory, which is basically a hypothetical future point in time when technological growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible, resulting in changes to human civilization that we do not yet understand. Now, of course, in terms of gem kind, it would be changed to whatever civilization they previously inhabited. The theory itself is a really neat one rooted in science and observations, so I recommend researching it if you have the time. This means there's a high probability that they went rogue and either eliminated or overthrew their creators. The fact that they were able to learn and get to the point where they created their own culture and were able to reproduce in of itself should terrify you. And if it doesn't, just think about the possibility that their creators are still out there, waiting to strike. Anyways, before today's video comes to a close, I have a very special announcement. We're announcing this year's Halloween contest winners. The winning team of this year was Team Pink Lemonade Lizards with a grand sweep of 6 out of 6 points. The team contributors were Boxox, Leo the White Lion, Kitten X Draws, Yosarian, and Quartz Boy Steven. The social media of these artists will be on screen as well as in the description if you're interested in checking out their other works. We'll be holding another contest for the holidays, so feel free to join the Discord if you would like to participate. Today's video is powered by Patreon. My top tier patrons are Zachary Ansley, Base Slayer, Taz, Ambrose Rothwood, and Brandon Nunes. It's because of people like them that I can continue to make content like this. And if you liked this video, why not subscribe and hit that bell icon to receive notifications from me of when I upload. And I will see you all in the next video. Happy Halloween, everyone!